They mock the disabled and the vulnerable with stunts sanctioned by the ABC's lawyers and victims intimidated by the security guards who accompany them. The Chaser, desperate for the same headlines as the celebrities they parody. And since the dead can't sue, they picked on them last night, which is why today grieving families, the Prime Minister and opposition leader and radio talkback hosts called them sick and the organisation that spends millions on them gutless.
It's very easy to bash up dead people.
The whole thing made me feel ill.
My great-grandfather died this week. I couldn't stand him, actually. Nobody could. But as soon as he passed away, everybody went around saying what a top bloke he was, so...
The Chaser's war on everything has lived up to its name. We know that on their show, no one or nothing is sacred. Last night, they proved it, declaring war on good taste by satirising the dead, spitting on the graves of some of our most beloved Australians.
Don Bradman was a total farce, a grumpy, greedy, tight ass who couldn't even score one run last time he played.
Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin lived in Khaki, a cartoon kamikaze who taunted Crocs and Tots so frequently.
What has Steve Irwin ever done to upset the Chaser?
Peter Brock.
And Brocky was some rev head who pumped the air with pure lead. So anti-green he drove into a tree.
I bet they wouldn't have had the courage to say that to Peter Brock's face.
Stan Zemanek.
Stan Zemanek was a racist jock, a fatso xenophobic whose views were more malignant than his brain.
And Kerry Packer.
Kerry Packer was a brothel chief, a tax cheat and a kidney thief. And procreating Jamie was the worst mistake he made. But all that was forgotten once he took his final breath. Yes, even turned into top blokes after death.
And they didn't stop there. On the 10th anniversary of her death, Princess Diana was also a target of their satirical spite.
Princess Di was just a when they looked in the car wreck. Her dress was wet with Arab and
While music legend John Lennon's life was summarised like this.
John Lennon chose the hippie life. He chose some nutbag for a wife, and his songs were never quite as good as Paul's.
The song ended with a reference to actress and singer Belinda Emmett, who died of cancer last year.
Belinda Emmett was a...
Please. I think it is just totally distasteful, despicable.
Today, Prime Minister John Howard took a moment from his busy election campaign to take a swipe at what he saw last night.
Heavens above, I mean, that sort of distasteful stuff about Don Bradman and Steve Irwin is contemptible, and they basically blotted their copybook. I mean, why don't they stick to decent, dirt-free humour and have something that we can all laugh at? But there's nothing to be achieved by poking fun at people like that who are dead. Nothing at all.
And putting political differences aside, Kevin Rudd joined the coalition of criticism.
I'd say to those guys at the Chaser, this is absolutely disgusting. Guys, you really need to lift your game. This is just wrong.
And Brocky was some rev head who pumped the air with pure lead.
I just think somehow we're losing the plot if we accept that as standard entertainment. And you'd like to think that there's some level of control over how far things are pushed.
That's it, the checkered flag for Peter Brock.
But hurting most were the loved ones left in the wake of the song's cruel barbs. Loved ones like Peter Brock's ex-wife Bev, who felt sickened by the Chaser's attempt at humour.
Here we've got people who gave an enormous amount to society, often at great cost to their family, and it's completely trashed their memory, shows total and absolute disrespect for their loved ones.
But all that's now forgotten once he took his final breath. Yes, he turned into top blokes after death. You don't believe me? Allow me to furnish you with a few examples. Steve Irwin lived in...
It wasn't just Peter that it disturbed me. Here you've got guys that actually have some talent who have stooped to using people who can't defend themselves anymore to gain some free publicity.
I'd like to dedicate this song to you, Gramps.
Ironically, Bev watches the show, but believes, like many, it's losing its edge. Last night's effort, a sad attempt to regain some street cred.
I think there's this air of desperation in trying to find something that keeps them at that, what they see as the leading edge, and I'd say this is a fairly desperate act.
It's not funny. It's not funny. It's outlandish rather than funny.
The son of Australia's greatest cricketer, Don Bradman, John, said this about the song today.
It's certainly not something that I particularly appreciate, but that's their way of going about things. I would just say that I think I know him better than they do.
Stan Zemanek was a racist jock, a fatso xenophobic whose views were more malignant than his brain.
The poor bugger got a brain tumour. And somebody can sit down on a computer and write a song lyric that talks about a brain tumour and makes a reference to Stan's brain and his intelligence. Now, if you're sitting at home as one of his children or his wife, and as I said, Bindi Irwin or Bev Brock, and you see that just come up unannounced on a television screen, I mean, that's just going to make you feel awful. The person I really feel sorry for is little Bindi Irwin.
Sydney broadcaster and close friend of Stan Zemanek, Steve Price, was fuming.
These blokes wouldn't have had the guts or the courage to say that about Stan Zemanek when he was alive in the last days of his life with his shaved head going through chemotherapy trying to survive cancer. They wouldn't have done it then because Stan would have whacked them back. But now he's dead and buried in the grave. They think they can do it.
But what are the ABC going to do, asks Price. He says their satire has moved into a completely new realm of disrespect, and he's calling on the national broadcaster to pull the show off the air.
ABC management has got no courage whatsoever. They are responsible, and the ABC has a very strict charter of what it can put to air. And these blokes are not within that charter.
There's obviously been a clear violation of the ABC's charter. It states its adherence to the 4 key values: honesty, fairness, independence and respect. Many are wondering where they went last night. Independence, sure, but respect and fairness was surely thrown to the dogs.
And if Mark Scott, the boss of the ABC's got any courage, he will pull them up.
We contacted Marcella Zemanek, widow of Stan, who was too distressed to talk today. She told us the Chaser team had contacted her the day before the song went to air. Despite begging them not to go ahead, she was told by executive producer Julian Morrow that if she had a problem with the song, she could slag them off.
I feel for Marcella very much because you don't get over losing someone to a brain tumour in 5 minutes. It lingers for a long time. She doesn't need this sort of thing dredged up by a bunch of unfunny blokes who think it's smart to poke fun at dead people.
But all that was forgotten once he took his final breath. Yes, even turned into top blokes after death.
In a statement today, the author of the song, Chris Taylor, said it satirised people who were flawed in life are often disproportionately hard as saints in death.
I don't think it's that funny, to tell you the truth. Not when someone's just passed away.
But confirming the show may be running out of ideas, the Chaser team has acknowledged the song had been recycled from a play a cast member had performed in before.
I choose to watch television for entertainment. In this case, I'd be definitely switching dials.
They tried to say today there wasn't many complaints about their program last night. Well, of course there's not going to be many complaints straight away. There will be when people start listening and hearing it. I mean, all of those non-ABC people who don't watch the ABC for these sort of reasons, that they allow rubbish to go to air, a lot of those people are going to hear this on commercial television today, and I bet you the ABC will have a few more complaints by tomorrow.
Yes, even she will be a top bloke after death.
David Richardson reporting, and the details on how to make your feelings known to the ABC are on our website, yahoo7.com.au/